I'm Megan Skidmore, and welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I'm a woman, daughter, sister, spouse, mother, life coach, and person of faith on a mission to normalize asking questions and allowing doubts on a faith journey and all aspects of life. Join me as I bring this traditionally taboo topic out of the shadows of shame and into the light. I firmly believe we normalize through more talking and engaging in discussion. More talking peels back, exposes, and erases the layers of shame associated with asking questions and allowing doubts. When we are more authentic about our journey, we are more powerful because shame has no power in the face of authenticity. If you come from a high demand background, it's possible you haven't taken the opportunity to thoughtfully consider your core values. Brené Brown said, living into our values means that we do more than profess our values. We practice them. We walk our talk. We are clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors align with those beliefs, end quote. Before you can walk your talk, you must identify what your core values are. Research has shown that it is traumatizing when a therapist or mental health support person tries to impose their values upon their client. Identifying your core values is like thinking ahead of time. It reduces decision fatigue. It becomes your North Star, guiding you as you navigate new decisions or decisions you've come to realize that perhaps you didn't get to choose in the first place. Click the link in the show notes for my Determine Your Values guide. It will help you take the first steps to living a values-driven and aligned life by helping you identify what matters most to you. Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast is a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, which is part of the Dialogue Journal found at dialoguejournal.com. Founder Eugene England was a Mormon writer, teacher, and scholar who wrote, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue. My hope is that this podcast is an extension of that vision." A little bit ago, you mentioned when you realized that losing that certainty did bring on fear, and that you realized you were going to have to rely on yourself, but yet you weren't developed enough as a person to be able to rely on yourself. I mean, obviously you have developed more as a person. You mentioned how you don't look necessarily outside to authority. That's what you were taught to do growing up and in your earlier years, young adult years, and a little beyond. But what is different now? Like, can you pinpoint or share things that are different now that have helped you to rely more on yourself, that have, as you said, you have experienced more self-development, I guess?
Yeah, this really goes into my LGBTQ journey and like coming to terms with my identity as a gay woman, because I think part of me didn't trust. There was some internalized homophobia because of that Miracle of Forgiveness chapter. And I didn't really trust myself. I couldn't trust myself because homosexuals are evil. And if deep down that's a part of me, like I can't trust myself. And so I had to, okay. So when I had, like when the whole foundation crumbled and all the check boxes like just fell and disintegrated, vanished. I was like, well, if there's no check boxes, like what does God care about? Like, what does he want from us, And the first thing that he started to teach me was like identity development. Like he taught me, like, it started with my kids. It was like, what's unique about each one of your kids? Like, how are they different from each other? Because before I was like, they were just all fitting this mold. And it didn't matter if they were different because they were all going to become the same, Mm-hmm. But so the journey that God took me on was like, well, what about this kid? Like, what's cool about this kid? Or what's hard for this kid that's not hard for that kid? And so he really started to teach me that like we are all unique, and like his creations are diverse on purpose, and understanding those differences are beautiful, and that's a necessary part of like understanding and development. And so as I was going through that journey with my kids, I was also doing some self-discovery, like, oh, well, what's my personality? How am I different than my kids in this way? And at first it was fun for like 5 minutes, And then all of a sudden, it was like this thing I buried so long ago about me falling in love with women. It was like coming to the surface because that's like a big part of my personality is like I love big. And I had just kind of shut my heart off. And so I didn't have to deal with this part of me. And so the more I was like expanding myself and learning how to love my kids and learning how to love others, I was like, oh no, I'm falling in love with women again, you know? Like my heart's open and I love to love and I don't know what to do with this now. And so because I was like letting go of fear, I was like, okay, I can't be afraid of this. I just need to, it is what it is. Let's figure it out, you know? And so a lot of my seeking and a lot of my questions were trying to figure out like, well, okay, so obviously I'm gay. Like I just had to admit that to myself.
Oh,
And then now what? Like
that hard.
what do I do? Yeah, it was really hard to like make that connection. Like, okay, me falling in love with women means I'm gay. Like I had to overcome a lot of mental homophobia to like make that connection. And then the first person I told was my best friend at the time, and that was terrifying. I think she already knew, so it wasn't a big deal for her, but it was terrifying for me. And then the more people I told after that, like the more I just kind of settled into it, like, okay, this is okay, you know. Um,
Did you tell your husband or?
yes. So I told my husband like the I think the next day after I told my best friend because I just thought he really needs to know this about me, you know, because we were already kind of struggling in our marriage and
Oh,
I mean at that time we weren't struggling as much. I think the more I became my true self, the harder our marriage became because I was filling a role in our marriage. Like the first 7 years of our marriage, he's like, that was the best time of my life, you know? And I was just like folding into this role of wife and homemaker and just kind of propping up his personality in his life. And it was great for him. So as I like became my own person more, there was more conflict. Like I had my own opinions all of a sudden and we
mhm.
had discussions, you know? Anyways, so yes, I I did start telling more people, but I was still very dedicated to the church and the doctrine that marriage is between a man and a woman. So even though I was gay, this did not change anything. Like it was going to be something I talked about and something I figured out about myself and something I wasn't ashamed of anymore. But I was still going to, you know, work on my marriage, and was not going to ever act on it. So that's kind of where I was at this time. And it took another 7 years. And as God was just kind of walking me down the path of faith expansion and self-discovery, you know, eventually God was able to get through to me and say, you know, this is not living in alignment with how I created you. And you are still in some ways feeling dead inside. Like you're not thriving, you're surviving.
Say that one more time. You said eventually your heart was open to the message God was sharing that this is not in alignment with how I created you. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I feel like during this time he was sending that message like I get it here and there a little. Like, you know, you're trying to live with integrity because that was a big I studied integrity. Like what does integrity mean? That was a big thing for me. And it was just kind of this little reminder as I was doing great. Like I was growing in a lot of ways, becoming more Christ-like, becoming more loving, becoming more open and vulnerable. But there was just this little, you know, every once in a while, like you're still not living in integrity. Like there's still something that you're out of alignment. You're pretending to be something you're not. And unfortunately, that was not good for my husband either. For him to be in a marriage with someone who was not attracted to him and didn't desire him in that way, it
Mhm.
took a hit on his self-esteem too, you know? So it wasn't just that I was living out of alignment, but it was affecting him
Mm-hmm.
in negative ways, And so I think I was very open to the expansiveness of everything I was learning, but I was not going to go against the doctrine of the church. I was going to keep my temple recommend. I was going to, I had no desire to ever step away from any of that. So I kind of, I finally ended up between this rock and this hard place. And this was like 2021, I think.
So recent, fairly recent.
Yeah. Yeah, I was still married and I was still dedicated and working on my marriage, and I was an LGBTQ advocate, like I was outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
I was out in my ward. Um, but there was this the inspiration I was getting more and more and more, like stronger and stronger, was like, you need to date women. And I was pushing back just as hard. I was like, nope, nope, like that is not, the prophets and apostles say that's not okay. I'm not going to do this, you know? And so the dissonance just got like harder to live with.
Mm-hmm.
And I started feeling like I had let go of all the shame. Like there was no more shame with me. And it was so peaceful. And then like for 6 months, the shame started creeping up again. And I was like, I don't even know where this is coming from or what it's about. But it just like, I started just feeling like heavy, and like I didn't trust myself. I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back to like, I'm gonna ask someone else because I can't figure this out on my own. And so I asked for a priesthood blessing, and the blessing, wouldn't have meant anything to anyone else, but the words that I needed to hear, um, it came, and basically in the blessing, he said he knew I was really struggling. This was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know what I was struggling with. He just could tell I was like not in a great place. And he said, you have been seeking answers. And I know that and he didn't really know any details, but he said, I know that it's hard to not receive answers. And then he stopped himself and he said, wait, it's hard to not accept the answers that are being given to you. And he just shifted it in that way. And it was just like, that was it. Like I knew at that point that God was the one that was trying to get me to take this path, because I trusted the priesthood. I trusted the priesthood blessing. And
Mm-hmm.
because it was coming from that source, I knew it was from God. And I knew that God was saying, you're not accepting the answer that I'm trying to give you. And so at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to date women. This is crazy, you know? And we had been going to marriage counseling for like 3 years and making zero progress. And so I think, my husband and I both kind of knew it was ending soon. And so with this decision, I was like, well, I guess we're going to get divorced, and I guess I'm going to date women, which was just like mind blowing for me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. For the purposes of our listeners who are of other faiths, because the reach of my podcast does go beyond the LDS faith, can you just briefly share what you mean by a priesthood blessing?
Oh, yeah. So in the LDS church, we believe that, okay, so the men in the church are ordained to what they call the priesthood, which we call the power of God. And they have special access to like God's will for others, like God's words. When we also have things like called patriarchal blessings in our church, where a patriarch is, set apart to be able to give someone a specific blessing for things in their life. And so it kind of falls along that line of they can receive instruction from God for you.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's so much change. That's so interesting how you were resisting accepting those answers. But then because they were so different than what you had been taught growing up.
Yeah.
And in this case, taught is really another word for conditioned to believe were the right answers.
Yeah.
And then the freedom that you felt when you just finally leaned into them and let go of resisting.
Yeah. I have not really felt fear or shame since that moment. Like someone asked me the other day, like, when did you finally just feel at peace? And that was it. Like when I just accepted, I guess I'm gonna date women now. And that's
Mm.
like, there was just this peace that has just filled me. And there have been hard things in my life since then. My ex-husband passed away. I am the sole caregiver of my special needs child. Like my life is really hard. But I have that peace has never gone, has never left me. Like I have so much peace and I'm strengthened through all the struggles that I have. And I'm so grateful for that. And really, it's living in alignment. Like life is hard, but I am on the path that I am meant to be on. And I'm experiencing the struggles I'm meant to experience. I'm not experiencing struggles that are pointless for me.
Life is hard, but I am on the path I'm meant to be on. That's beautiful. I just got chills. That's something I respect so much, that everybody is on their own unique journey. And I honor wherever you are at in that journey. Can you think of anything else that you would like others to know about the uniqueness, maybe even some of the challenges of what it's like to journey in this space, this intersection of identifying as LGBTQ plus, and then being a member of, in this case, the LDS faith, but that can also be broadened to apply to conservative faith in general.
Yeah. Something that I've dealt with a lot, and it's kind of come up again recently that I would like to share with people that maybe are not familiar with someone in my shoes. Um, it's, I mean, I get why it happens, but it's easy for religious, faithful people to see the LGBTQ, they call it the LGBTQ movement, but like basically there's more LGBTQ people who are coming out and who are living
Mhm,
their truth, living in alignment. Um, but they call it the LGBTQ movement. They
mhm,
see that as like Satan's winning. This is what Satan is bringing this about. You know, more people are coming out, more people are, I mean, I see it as more people are coming out. They see it as more people are becoming gay and more people are becoming trans. But I know that's always been around. We just haven't talked about it.
mhm.
So it's really difficult. It's really painful for me when people look at me and they either think you're being deceived by Satan or you are promoting Satan's agenda. Like, how hurtful is that to look at a human like your sister or brother in Christ and think that about them? It just feels awful.
Especially when you know it's not true. You
Well, I
know,
know now, but I questioned it a lot at the beginning because I trusted straight people more than I trusted myself or gay people, you know? So
mhm,
it's taken me a while to get to the point where that uh, doesn't make me question myself. Like, am I following Satan? Like, that's
mhm.
so. And I just, my heart breaks for kids of parents where their parents still hold that belief and the kids are trying to come out. And it's like the way their parents see them is like, oh, you're just, you're just being deceived by Satan. And eventually, like, you'll come back to me, you'll come back to the church, you'll see, it's just so hard.
What do you think the key ingredient for you has been to move from, you said in the beginning, you still question, like you said you would listen more to straight people than you would to your own self, I guess. What was the key ingredient to making that shift where you don't question that
Yeah,
now?
it was when the shame finally like left me because um I could always fall back on that shame like, oh, they're right. Like there's something wrong with me. They can see it. Now they're just pointing it out to me, you know? Like I know there's something wrong with me. They see it too. That was kind of my thought back then. Um when the shame finally left my body, like I didn't feel it in my blood and my bones anymore. then
Mhm.
I was like, I am good. Like I feel good. I feel love and light like expanding in my body. So they're wrong, you know? Like I was able to finally see that and feel that and believe that. And you know what was really helpful for me when I was making that shift is there are certain people on this planet that are sensitive to like energy. Not all of us are,
Yes.
but the people that are would come up to me and they would just kind of go like this and go, "Oh, your energy feels good." Like, and people would make comments like that. And I was like, "Oh." And they would feel that about me even if I was feeling like I'm toxic, you know? And then they would say, "Oh, you're so good. Like you just feel good to be around." And those comments, I was like, maybe they're right, you know? It just was helpful for me to like start to trust myself. Yeah.
Um, so many questions, and we've kind of run
Make a
our
2 hour
time out.
podcast.
Um, so I'm trying to surmise in my mind. Just thank you so much for being so willing to be open. I know this is not easy. There's so many moving parts in a faith journey, and identity is one of them. So if there's what I love what you just said, how you felt light entering your body. You felt expansive, enlarged, something along those lines. And, right in that moment, I thought that's what allowing questions does for us. That's what allowing the doubt and examining it and looking at it. Why would I why would I have this doubt, or why would this feel like it doesn't align with me? Because that's the moment that we begin the steps to invite that enlightenment in, to put ourselves in a place where we can be expanded, where we can grow, where we can be illuminated to new ways of thinking, to new ways of being, right? Our thinking is what ultimately um, will dictate our actions, right? Um, I wanted to get into, maybe how your family, what their role has been in your journey. Because sometimes I know it is so hard to talk about these things with family. It's so hard because they are so inextricably tied to us. I mean, not just according to the tenets of our faith, right? But it's to our lived reality. We grew with them. We are connected with them. And when I say family, yes, I'm talking about our family of origin, but that does extend out into our faith families, right? Other communities. Do you have anything you can share with us that comes to mind about that part of your navigating your story?
Yeah, I'll just share a little bit. I think God knew this. My whole family's in Utah and he moved me to Oregon. That was like
Mm.
a very big like Go- God, like my husband lost his job and he couldn't find a job in Utah and he was very well qualified. And like he applied for a gazillion jobs over 10 months and nothing. And then someone from Oregon like sought him out and offered him a job. And it was just so obvious, like in a spiritual sense to me, like I received a confirmation that like we needed to move to Oregon. So
Mm.
I would say God knew that I needed to get away from my family in order to take this journey. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it while I was still trying to please them and be around them. And um, so getting out and getting away from my family, I was able to develop a lot of my own identity. And then I came back to Utah 6 years later and I was a different person. So coming back to my family, um, they just had to get to know me all over again and it's affected all of them in different ways, but many of them have expanded their own faith and identity because they've
Mm.
They see the changes in me, but they also see that I now have my light, like the light that was gone for so long. They see that I'm living differently. Like even though the way that I'm living looks like against what the church is teaching, they
Uh,
can see that I have joy and happiness and peace and light. So
mhm.
it's like, I don't know. They just see it, you know?
Yeah. When you say they see that the way you're teaching or living is against what the church is teaching, I don't think we've brought this up, but you're open about you are in a relationship
Yes.
and you are actively participating in the church.
Yes. My word's amazing and her word is amazing. We got lucky. Yeah, we've both been to each other's words. We've met each other's bishoprics and yeah, there's no problems.
It's good to make this, to make this aware or to share that with others so that they can be aware there's more than one way to um, live Christ's gospel. There's so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really value personal revelation. Like when people come to me and say, what should I do? I I'm kind of a life coach too, not a paid life coach, but I was certified. And people come to me and people will ask me like, what do you think I should do? And I'm just such a personal revelation to me is huge. I'm like, do what you feel like you need to do, you know?
I
We
love
can
that.
figure that out for ourselves.
Yeah, I think that comes with your personality. People coming to seeking you out for insight or offering your thoughts. It's a gift. So the last question I always like to ask my guests, certainty is prized in our faith, in most conservative faiths, right? And to have a doubt kind of traditionally or historically has had a lot of shame attached to it or it can be reflective of someone's worth or perceived that way, even though I now know it has nothing to do with that. And so I purposely chose, the title of this podcast to beyond the shadow of doubt, to go and see doubt in a different way. So my question for you is, what does it mean to you to live beyond the shadow of doubt?
I guess to me, it means to tolerate not knowing,
Mm,
being okay with open-ended questions, not needing to know the answers to everything. Um, it means letting go of the need to be right. And like we just talked about, understanding that what's right for someone else may not be right for me, and that doesn't make me wrong. We're all just trying to figure it out, and we can love each other in each of our different paths. Um, one more thing I would say it means to me is being able to listen and validate other people's beliefs and experiences, even if I don't understand or agree with them, because what they are going through or finding out for themselves doesn't threaten what I'm figuring out for myself.
I love what you said, being able to listen and validate others' experiences, even if I don't agree. To validate doesn't mean that you have to agree. It just means I validate that you are a human being having this experience and it is hard or it is enlightening or it is challenging or whatever it might be. That's such an important point to make. And I love that you said that.
Yeah, because
Sytske,
sometimes people like doubt, that word doubt.
uh,
Sometimes when people share their experiences, other people are like, no, they doubt other people's experiences, and that's gaslighting. So we don't doubt other people's experiences.
most likely because in their mind they're shifting to that checklist that they were taught.
Yeah. Or if that's true for them, then that threatens what might be true for
Exactly.
me.
Exactly. And so it's so important to be able to leave space. I love that. Open-ended questions. Be okay with open-ended questions. Let go of the need to be right. You said some gems in there. I love that so, so much. Sytske, it has been so fun to have this conversation with you and to learn more about you. What a beautiful soul you are. What a beautiful journey. Sometimes hard and challenging, but always enlightening and aligned. I love how aligned I can see in your countenance the peace the assurance that you have. And you just cannot put a price tag on that.
Thank you so much. And I
Yeah,
did want to say before I forget,
sure. Please.
thank you for the work that you're doing. I don't think I could be where I am if it wasn't for allies. Allies have such a pivotal role in the LGBTQ acceptance because we can accept ourselves all we want, but like the allies are that bridge between like society because the allies are looked at as like normal members of society. And it's just to me like I have so much gratitude for allies. We couldn't do this without them. So thank you.
That brought tears to my eyes. You're so welcome. I'm grateful for you teaching all of us about what it really means to be authentic and to live an aligned, honest life.
Thank you.
I think those that identify as, like you use the term heteronormative, have a lot to learn about that.
Yeah, I mean, that is part of the gift of being queer is we were forced to like develop our identities in a different way.
Oh,
It's hard, but it's also a gift.
so beautiful. Well, Sytske, if folks wanted to reach out to you or had questions for you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So I am on Facebook, Sytske
Okay.
Woodhouse Jr. You can follow my profile's public and I post quite a bit. You can message me whenever people want to reach out. They just reach out on Facebook Messenger, and I'm happy to talk to anyone and answer questions. Or, people a lot of times will reach out to me for guidance. I'm not great at giving guidance, but I will help you learn to trust yourself.
I love
Um,
that.
the other way you can connect with me is I am on the board of Emmaus LGBTQ Ministry, and our website is emmauslgbtq.org. And we also have a Facebook and an Instagram page that you can follow us on. And I do the devotionals once a month, and then we also have family home evenings once a month.
Yes, and I actually did one of those devotionals earlier this year, and that's on my podcast. I think January of 2024 is when I released it.
Awesome.
And I always love to throw out a few questions at the end for my listeners to get to know Sytske a little bit better.
Yeah, fun.
Okay, so tell us your favorite book.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I, I love books, but there's two that are like my Bible. So
Okay.
like Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, and
Okay.
then The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck.
Okay.
Those are
I
like my Bibles for life.
awesome. Are you an introvert or would you consider yourself an extrovert?
Oh, I am an introvert. If you know Myers-Briggs, I am an INFP, um, which means I need my downtime and alone time, but I am so into people. I
I
love
think
people.
it's
But if I
me.
could do one-on-one, that's better for me.
I think that is my four code.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think it is because it's
Nice.
either a P or a J, right?
Yep.
I'm not a J, so I think that's me too.
Yay.
That's so funny. Okay, who is your favorite artist?
Oh, I learned to play the guitar in college because I loved Dave Matthews music.
Mhm.
So lifelong lover of Dave Matthews Band.
Would you hate me if I told you I just saw him in concert a few weeks
No,
ago?
that's amazing. I love that. I feel like it dates me when I say that. Like it makes me
Oh,
people realize how old I am.
no. Are you a night owl or a morning lark?
I am definitely a night owl.
Too, although less so with each passing year.
Yeah, as you get older.
Do you have a celebrity crush?
I do. Kristen Stewart, but post Twilight,
Oh.
Kristen Stewart. I didn't love her in Twilight, but like the blonde. My favorite like pure LGBTQ movie is Happiest Season on Hulu with
That
Kristen Stewart.
is so cute. I've seen that.
Such a cute movie.
Yeah, they did a good job. And do you do still or carbonated water? Are you a diet soda fan?
Oh, no carbonation for me. I
No
love still
carbonation.
water. I have a very sensitive like my son did a science experiment with our family and I'm a super taster. So I have a very sensitive palate, and the tingles with the carbonation is just too much for me.
Okay, I will remember that next time I see you. And finally, tell us the furthest place you have traveled.
Oh, I'm not super adventurous, so the furthest place would probably be Hawaii.
Hawaii. Hawaii is a fun place to
And if
travel.
Hawaii wasn't part of America, it would be like California. But Hawaii is awesome. I love it.
Hawaii is beautiful. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your schedule and for being here with me and with us today. Your story is going to touch so many lives. I know it.
Thank you. This was a wonderful experience. I really appreciate it.
So glad. First Friday's free coaching, a confidential group to bring all the questions, vent frustrations, share fears, express doubts. Navigating a new and uncertain reality is hard enough. Let's remove the worry of judgment from others. In this group, I will help you help yourself so that you can be there for your child, family, loved ones, and for you too. Click the link in the show notes to sign up. You must complete the agreement. Hopeful Spaces is a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. It's a free monthly parent, ally, or caregiver support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. Email chc@dallashopecharities.org for more info. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more, or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.